All right, bam, we're live. We'll get started here. Welcome. Day 96. It is a journey, that is for sure. All right. Huh. All right, give me a second. Looks like we need some better lighting. All right, there we go. All right, so we've been in this pillar 6, right over here. Marketing, advertising, ideal clients, tracking, and planning. And so the last 96 days, we've been going through this wheel, all the things you need to run a successful remodeling company. And one of the things is tracking your ads. Welcome. If you're new, let me know where you're from. We'll go through this rather short and sweet. All right. Let me Yeah, welcome. If you're new, let me know where you're from. All right, there we go. All right. Welcome. Yeah, let us know where you're from, what part of the country you're in. All right, so here we go. Data doesn't lie, but your gut might, right? And here's the thing. You could be spending thousands a year on your marketing. And can you say for sure what's working, what isn't? Which platforms bringing in the cheaper clients? Which ones bringing in the qualified clients? What campaigns are actually leading to closed deals? Which ads are just draining you? And which ones are actually providing you with good clients? It's for some guys, it's hard to tell, right? The only way you're going to know is if you track it. You also have to know what to track and what to ask. So, National Association of Home Builders would recommend that a typical remodeler spend a minimum of 5 to 10% of their total revenue on marketing. All right. Now, this is a caveat. It's based off of where you are in your growth stage of your company. If you're trying to grow as a company, you're going to have to spend more. If you're trying to stabilize because you have a huge, you got 20 years in business, you have a huge mailing list of past clients, and you get a lot of referrals, you can scale that back a little bit. But if you're new and it's a competitive marketplace that you're in, you got to go above the average, okay, just to get your name out there and to be able to compete. It's a competitive marketplace. So you have to understand that it's also not always about doing more, but more about being smarter with your marketing so that it's effective. And you have to be able to track it so that you know what you're doing and where to put your money going future. All right. So what all this actually means, let's translate. What is ROI, right? Return on investment. Now let's make that relative to Remodelers. How many dollars comes back to your business for every dollar that you put out, right? If you're going to invest $3,000 into some marketing, how many jobs are you going to land back because of that? So if you spend $1,000 on postcards and you land a $25,000 kitchen project, I would say it paid off pretty well. If you spent $1,000 on Facebook ads and you just got 40 leads and none of them panned out, then that wasn't such a good investment, right? I mean, you start seeing, but you have to track this to know it. And many remodelers aren't tracking, nor are they tracking properly. When a homeowner calls you and they say, I found you online, how did you find me online? If they say they found you on Google, say, what got you to go to Google? How did you just search contractors in the area? Did you see an ad? Did someone recommend me? You have to ask a follow-up question because they'll just tell you, I saw you on Facebook. Well, what do you mean? Did you see an ad? Did you come across our page? How did you come across us? This is important information. And if you ask in a nice way, there's no reason why the homeowner's not going to share that information with you. But what will end up happening if you don't ask the right questions, your data is not going to be accurate and you're going to make mistakes going forward because you think you know, but everything you're making your decisions off of is based off of wrong information, incomplete information. Welcome to those of you that are here. If you're new, just let me know where you're from. If you have any questions on marketing or advertising, please let me know and I can address it real time. I'll share with you my experience with all the marketing and advertising over the years, helping both my company and some others. That's what this is about tonight. So welcome. Appreciate you being here. And again, it's specific to remodelers. So every lead that comes in, you have to drill down and find what was the original source, not what they ultimately went to call you, but what piqued their interest, what got their attention the first time. Did they see a job sign? Did they come across one of your guys at the store wearing one of your shirts, right? Did they see your vehicle at a stoplight because you have it lettered or magnets on it? Was it, what was it that initially got them to say, let me find out more about this company? And every lead that comes into your company, when you put it on your CRM, you assign somewhere in there how they found you, how they came across your company. And over time, you can build up a database where you see last year we got 300 leads and 75 of them came from that mailing that we did where we sent that postcard, right? And you're like, damn, that really worked. Or it didn't. All right. So you have to have a good CRM. If you need recommendations for some free ones, you can reach out to me. If you're already paying, because maybe your estimating software includes it, then start taking advantage of your CRM. You need to build a good database. You can do it on a simple Google Sheet, if nothing else, but somewhere you got to be tracking all this and keeping records. All right. What we want to know is the lead called us. Did you weed them out initially and then you found out they were no good? Or did it lead to you doing what we would consider a consultation where we're getting paid? Or for you, did you go out and do a free estimate? And then did it lead to them hiring you? Was it a job, right? Those are the three phases that you need to account for on your tracker sheet. And then for the jobs that you landed, you have to assign how much did that lead cost you? How much did you sell the job for? And now you start getting all your values. So it takes time to build this up. You're not going to figure this out in 3 months. It takes about a year to get some historical data. Okay. Then you can start talking like a true business person. You can say, I got a CPL. I know what my CPS is. Cost per lead, cost per sale, right? Now you can sound all sophisticated when you talk to a marketer. Otherwise, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? They're just random numbers. So if you spent $1,000 on Facebook ads, you got 10 leads, your cost per lead, $100. If 2 of those leads landed as jobs and you got hired for $50,000 projects, now your cost per sale, that's costing you $500. Your return on investment is the 100,000 minus the 1,000. So now you're getting a 9,000% return on investment. If that's your number, you're going to be pumping as much money into Facebook ads as you can. That's insane. Like all day long, it's like a cash machine. And this is where people get confused. Some guys look at advertising as an expense because they don't even understand what they're getting back. Whereas a bigger successful company is laughing because they're like, man, we put as much money into ads as we can afford. Because every time we advertise, we're getting back profitable jobs. It's like an ATM. Why wouldn't you do it that way? Okay. So this is where you separate the men from the boys. This is why 90% of contractors go out of business and only the 10% survive. You're starting to see the method behind the madness. You have to track it. Okay. You don't need anything fancy. You can just do something simple. How much did we spend? How many leads did we get? How many sales did that lead to? What was the revenue? Here's my return on investment. Track it monthly. Okay. After a lot of advertising campaigns are like 90 days, 3 months, 6 months. So then you can regroup and see how you did. And then you gear up for the next one. I suggest that you stick with one campaign for a year, one thing specifically. Things take time. Homeowners need to hear your name several times. You're catching people at various phases of the buying and decision making processes. They're just because they hear you once doesn't mean they're going to call you out of the blue sometime. They might, but a lot of people need to hear you multiple times. That's how you build credibility. So, what if you actually did this? You could stop wasting money. You could actually start making strategic investments into your remodeling business where you're like, damn, this works. I need to make sure I'm putting 10% of my revenue into that ad campaign because I know it's going to lead me to like $250,000 in sales. So, yeah, I'm going to spend that 5 grand, 10,000, like boom, clockwork. You can double down on what's working. If you're ready to grow and you're positioned to hire a few more crews and you could bang out a few more jobs, you know where to put the money. You'll sleep better knowing that you can confidently predict that you're going to have projects. How many guys are stressed out right now going, I don't even know if I'm going to have another good job come in the next 3 months, right? A lot of guys are worried right now. You can scale with confidence. And this is how some guys just can very confidently go hire a few more employees because they know that their advertising works and it's predictable. So they can forecast. Okay. You can come up with a solid game plan. All right. So instead of throwing darts, you're buying jobs. Does that make sense? Hopefully you're getting that. So here's the AI prompt that I would suggest you use if you don't have a tracker and you want to figure it out for the first time. You say, hey, I need to create a monthly tracking spreadsheet that will determine my return on investment. I'm a kitchen and bath remodeler. I would narrow that down, say I'm just going to do a kitchen campaign or a bath campaign. I'm going to track each lead. This is how I see it coming in. I'll probably have some Google ads. I'm probably going to do a little Meta, which is Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to have a direct mail campaign. I'm going to utilize my website. I have yard signs. I have referrals. So that all needs to be on the spreadsheet. For each, I need a total down at the bottom where I can calculate my ad spend, my number of leads, the number of sales, my total revenue from the sales, my determining my cost per lead, my cost per sale, and finally my return on investment. And you present that in what's called a tubular format. Boom. You paste that into your favorite AI machine, Perplexity, ChatGPT, and there you go. Some of them now are even building that spreadsheet. You don't even have to know how to build it anymore. Many of them are going to want to put it into Excel, which is fine. I prefer Google Sheets. You use what works for you. And there you go. So what kind of questions does anybody have? Are you guys advertising? Hello from Puerto Persoyo, Rocky Point. Welcome. Thank you for saying hi. So, Daniel, thank you. If you have any specific questions, you want to let me know your niche, I can share with you that like there's more money to be made on online advertising when you do a specific niche. The days of the general contractor doing really well, it's a different concept. So I'm a GC, right? I can handle anything. I can build you addition, put in a new kitchen, bath, basement, outdoor living space, doesn't matter. Roofing, siding, windows, doors. The average homeowner wants to hire the specialist. There are guys right now that are crushing it and they pick one thing. They do sports themed recreation rooms. That's it. If you are a sports fan and you want a new basement makeover, they do that. You want a garage makeover, like to where it's going to be a bar. There are guys that only do that. They are general contractors, remodelers, but they're advertised and they specialize in one niche. Outdoor living spaces. If you're a full service outdoor landscape architect company, That's not how you advertise online these days. You pick one thing, like a beautiful kitchenette that's outside with a nice little patio, pergola style, right? And a little brick fireplace and maybe a little semicircle that they're all going to sit around. Like you have to start advertising strategically. I know another company that's killing it, and they only access or advertise rather like design for an accent wall. They're a full service remodeler, but their advertising campaigns focuses on one thing. In my area, we have a lot of big homes with big basements. We would specialize in letting them know we could put in dance rooms, a studio in the basement, right? You want a yoga space. You need a workout area. Like we specialize in the active lifestyle basement remodel. You don't just say you're a basement remodeler. That's too boring. You hone in on a thing that's unique, and you're the expert. So thank you for the likes. But yeah, this is how you start standing out in social media. You pick the one thing. Now, when we show up and we get hired to do this fancy basement, as we're working for the homeowner, we give them a little trifold, a little flyer, and they start seeing that, oh my God, they do everything. They do kitchens, they do baths, they could put a new roof on. And then you get hired, and that's how you get repeat business. But the way you get in the first time, the way you cut through all this noise is by picking one thing and you specialize in that with your advertising campaign. So thank you, Calvin. Appreciate the likes. If I can answer anything specific, you have any questions, feel free to chime in. But that's been my experience. If you just try to advertise that you're the we do it all, no job too big, no job too small, I think you struggle nowadays with the way advertising and the way homeowners are. Homeowners really want to find that guy who's like the best of the thing that they do, the one thing, right? We got a guy who just specializes in he just does garage floors. He just comes in and he epoxies them. That's it. Garage floors. Now, he could do any floor. He could do your basement. He could do your office, your warehouse. But the way he advertises is just garage floors. That's how he gets in. He makes his money there. While he's there, he shares with them he can do other things. And he becomes and has become known in his area as the go-to, right, for garage floors. And as soon as he's in one neighborhood, at least another couple neighbors are generally calling him, and then he's doing theirs. So it just starts multiplying because he is a specialist. And homeowners feel a lot more comfortable hiring somebody who specializes. So, all right. That's the content for tonight. The tracking gets important over time. So for a long time, we did Valpaks. Valpak works really good in our area. You got to remember that for me, a lot of my ideal customers like mail. They're older, right? The 25-year-old kid who's all digital, he doesn't have any money. But the 55, the 60-year-old, they still open the mail because that's how it was when they were growing up. They like getting mail. So when they get a coupon package, a Valpak in the mail, they're opening it up. And if they want one of those services, they're taking it out, they're sticking it on the fridge, they're putting it on their cork board, and then they call that company when they're ready. We have a company in my area. They do new doors, front doors, entry doors. Every month, they're in the Valpak. And I can't tell you how many people's houses that if I'm at a party or visiting with a neighbor, they have that coupon because they're like, yeah, we're going to hire them to do our new front door. You'd be shocked. Like how many people call this company, and it's based off of the Valpak ad that they send out in the mail every month. So that company has over time tracked that and recognized that this is a very consistent and profitable way for them to be advertising. They're the only company in that entire package that advertises that they specialize in front door replacements. So something to consider. They do a lot of other things. But that's what their ad is specific to entry doors. And they sell a lot on like security, like steel doors with glass, anyway. It's nice stuff. So something to consider. Big Cat. I'm not sure if you've been on before. Welcome. Feel free to let me know what part of the country you're in, if there's any, and what your like specialty is or your niche. So, two of the campaigns that we ran very successfully many times was so in my area, there's a lot of good deck builders. In fact, one of the country's top deck builders in my area. This guy crushes it. So I didn't want to compete with him on decks. But what he didn't advertise, which he's completely capable of building, is we would do screened in porches, 3-season Florida rooms, we call them. That's what we advertised on. So we're still building the deck, but we're putting walls and a roof on it. And no one else in our area was specifically advertising that. So what we did was I found a couple neighborhoods that had higher income households, right? These were houses, I don't know, 700,000 to like 2 million, in that range. And these families had most likely the money and the means, and they would like to have that extra space if they don't already have it. So that's who we would target with our mailings, right? And a campaign like that generally takes about 6 months. Homeowners got to see your ad several times. And you have to understand that most likely they're going to be thinking about getting that built after tax time. So you have to back up 6 months prior to that. And that's when you need to minimal start your advertising. So it's a long-term game. This isn't like I put the ad out this week and next month I'm going to get 20 calls. It might happen, but most likely it's going to take 3 to 4 months for homeowners to see the ad a couple times. They take the clipping, they put it up, they save it. And then when they are ready, because now they're getting their tax return, or now in their mind, it's that time of year where they start doing these projects, then they call you. So the other one we did was a specialty basements. That one worked really well for us too. I did a lot of sports-oriented basements, putting in soccer rooms, plywall. Like one wall would be a plywood wall that would be painted with a goal. That way the kids, and you'd put like some plywood in the ceiling, right? So the kids could kick the soccer ball all day long down in the basement, and the parents loved it, right? You're doing RC channel, hat channel, so that you can isolate the sound, doing like what movie theaters do. You might put a sheet of 5/8 sheetrock and then put the plywood over top of that. And you're insulating all the things that you're trying to do to deaden sound. And we dance rooms was a big one in certain communities. So when you start finding a little, we had another guy that was really into biking, and so we created a whole space for him where he needed the way he'd set up his bikes, and he'd have to have screens that would come down out of the ceiling so that he would put up a fake road, right? So he's biking for an hour or two and the road is changing in front of him, things like that. So you get creative with your clients, but you find a niche. That's what I'm saying. So it's telling me that some comments are being filtered. I'm having a hard time knowing who's been filtered and why. Give me a second. Yeah, if you're being a jerk, it's probably why you're being filtered. But anyway, if you have any other questions specific towards remodeling, please, just pop it in there and we'll get it answered. I don't know who's been filtered or why. I'm having a trouble seeing that. But all right. Let's see. There's a guy, his name's Peter Drucker. He talks a lot about, things that get measured can be improved. So you have to start tracking something if you want to improve on it. And you can't scale chaos. You can only scale systems. That's why ROI tracking becomes important. Again, this is for people that are looking to, grow a business and, want to be profitable over the next couple years. I get it. Some guys are just happy to have this as a side business, and that's cool too. You can just work on referrals that way. But if it's something you're looking to scale and grow, right, then you have to get serious about your marketing and your advertising. It just takes time. I find that all the components work together. If we put a yard sign out, that's one way the homeowner sees you. The second way is they see the vans, your crews that have lettering or magnets. You hand out door hangers. This, pardon our dust. You let people know that you're in the neighborhood working and that you're available if they have any problems that they want solved. Right? Then you send out a little mailing to the neighborhood, introducing yourself to the community, letting them know that you're working for the Smiths down at 2822 Liberty Lane. And, please stop by at any time if they want to inquire about a service. You'd be happy to discuss it with them. Right. And then when they go, and then you target them on Facebook, Meta. They see your ad, they see your truck, anything, they go online, they can read about your company. Hopefully you are posting about the current project that you're on. Homeowners always get curious what their neighbors are doing. So we found this works really well. So have a little snippet about like demo day, maybe a little snippet once you get midway through the project, and then another little snippet as you're finishing up the job. And that can intrigue people to call you so certain people in certain neighborhoods have to have the nicest and the best. And as soon as they see somebody else maybe doing something that is nicer than what they have, you might be getting a call. So all this stuff works together in unison, and it's all part of a complex system. So, all right. Very good. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you being here. I don't see any comments coming in right now. So we'll probably shut down tonight. So anyway, today was day 96. So we've done 100 of these straight. And again, we're in the 6th. Each one of these is a pillar to how to run a remodeling business successfully. We're in this pillar now. The last couple of days are going to stay over there, and that's your marketing and advertising. So tomorrow is day 97, and we're going to talk about how you balance short-term versus long-term, right? Because it's what a lot of remodelers end up getting themselves jammed up. You get you need to get a job. So you try to advertise, and you get a couple leads, and then you go out and you close the deal. So now you're working and you're too busy. So then you let the other leads fall off to the wayside. And then 6 weeks later, you're wrapping up the job, and then you're nervous because you need another job. So you start advertising again. And we help you get off that up and down hamster wheel of a sense. So we show you how you can balance the short term and the long term together, right? So that instead of doing this all the time, you start kind of doing like that. That's the concept. So tomorrow we'll talk about how you balance that out. One of the ways we talk about is you're always trying to land jobs for the slow time when it's busy, and vice versa. So like in my area, because of weather, the wintertime can be rough for doing outdoor projects. And you want to keep your crews busy. So I try to incentivize a lot of homeowners to have us doing basement projects during Thanksgiving, Christmas, when they can't utilize the rest of the house, or I'm sorry, when they need to utilize the rest of the house because of holidays. That might be a good time for us to come in and do their basement project, right? Whereas I'd rather be building my additions in March and in June in my area, and not trying to start an addition in December. We do. It's just not ideal because of weather. So you start getting strategic with the way that you're running your business. And sometimes, you position jobs throughout the year based off of how your weather is as well. All right. So anyway, hope all that helps. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this stuff. It's nothing, it's no rocket scientist stuff. It's just some basics that help you in the remodeling world. Anyway. Okay. So thank you for being here. Yeah, you're welcome. Big Cat, let me know where you're from. I think this is the first time I've seen. You might have been here before, but I don't recognize your user name. I'm on a little bit later tonight than usual. Um, we had several calls today, so everything just kind of got pushed. But thank you for. I appreciate you sharing. Okay, Northern Illinois. So you know all about weather, yeah. Like where you are, your weather's more severe than ours. So if you do full service remodeling, you probably understand what I'm talking about. How you have to kind of get strategic with certain clients. You know, some people are willing to wait, some aren't. The only way you find out is by asking. Yeah. So, but that was a hard thing for me the first year or two. I didn't. I try the first year. I just tried to sell everything, and get it going right away. I mean, that's survival of the fittest. And then I started noticing, damn, like I'm doing basements in July. Like this is crazy. Oh, thank you, Big Cat. Yeah, appreciate you being here. Yeah. So, but that second summer, I was like, why am I doing basements in July? And I'm struggling. I remember I was struggling putting together a deck with composite material, and it was during Christmas, and it was a nightmare. I'd get up, it'd be 28 degrees, and the material right would be shrunk, and then midday it'd be like 65 in the sun, and then the material's going back the other way, and it was a nightmare. I was like, this is anyway, you live and you learn. You make a lot of dumb mistakes your first year. Yeah. So until you learn the business, and then you figure out how to make it simpler. Anyway, all right. But yeah, if you have any specific questions, if you're following me, it makes it easy. You can direct message me if you come across any struggles. I mean, a lot of guys hit me up with asking about estimating and selling and stuff like that, objections that they're running into and they get tired of. So more than happy to help you figure stuff out. If you need somebody, the reason I put stuff on like this is when I got started, I had been in a corporate environment. As soon as I got out of college, I got a sales job. I wanted to do the hardest thing. Everyone told me sales was the hardest, right? So I went and got a sales job. And one of the best things about the company I worked for was every Friday we'd have a meeting. Like we'd bring 65 salespeople into a big room, and everybody would talk about like what's working for them, what's not working, where they're struggling, how they're winning jobs, landing deals. And I learned so much in those meetings, right? I was like, damn, I didn't think of that. I haven't been trying that. You get into a remodeling business on your own. Where do you go to talk with other remodelers? Like, hey, what are you doing? How are you figuring this out? We only know what we know. There's so much that we don't even know that somebody else is doing different in another part of the country. So anyway, that's what helps. I get a bunch of guys in here. Everyone can we can bounce ideas off of each other, and you start learning, and then you stop banging your head up against the wall for 5 years because you're like, damn, I didn't know I could do that. So that's the concept. All right. Let me just double check, see if anything else. But yeah, glad you found the channel. Thanks for hanging out. And yep. So if you follow the account, you'll get notified when the live comes on. Like I said, today was day 96. I'm of 100. So if you ever want to visit and see what these look like, you can go to the YouTube channel, and they're all under workshops. Now, there's a bunch of them there. There's like 100 and like 40 now. I did a 54-day series first, and then flipped over to this 100-day series. Generally, the content's in like the first 12 minutes, and then the rest of it's usually a discussion. So, yep. So anyway, there's more than enough information out there, and you just never know what you're going to get on these lives. Some nights they're busy, some nights they're not. Like I said, tonight's a little late. Plus, it's a Friday night. I get it. A lot of people are like, they're done with work at this point. It's been a long week. So, Um, and Big Cat, help me understand real quick. Do you have a specialty in the industry? Is there something that you do specifically? You tell me you're from Northern Illinois. I don't. Maybe you answered it. I don't see anything. Oh, perfect. You're a rehabber. Real estate. Awesome. That's how I got started. I never wanted to own a remodeling business when how let me ask you, have you been doing this for like 20 years or less? How long have you been in the business? 10. Okay. So 2015. So I got started in 99. I bought my first house. Didn't even have cell phones back then. But I was working for Nextel Communications and I was selling digital two-way radios to contractors. And I'm driving around and a bunch of guys were making money flipping houses, rehabbing them, contractor. And I was talking with them. Yeah, so you do this on the side. Perfect. All right. That's how I got started. I was working for Nextel and I'm meeting with these guys to sell them this new technology, showing them a digital two-way radio. Because the guys didn't have back in 2000, you didn't have any of this stuff that you have today. Anyway, I was noticing that a lot of the guys, they were making a lot of money and they weren't anything special. Like they really didn't have any special skills. They were just willing. Okay. Yeah, they were just willing to take the risk. And I was like, how hard can this real estate game be? So I bought Carlton Sheets's course and then I met some guy who was a real estate investor and he was willing to like help kind of take me under his wing. And he's like, you need to buy your first one at an auction. And I bought my first house on December 24th and boom. And then next thing you know, we're buying and flipping houses. And 6 months later, I quit my corporate job and jumped into it head first. Um, and then then because I was doing so many rehabs and I was doing all the managing of the crews, all the neighbors started wanting work done. In my state, in order to work for other homeowners, technically you're supposed to have a license. So that's when I went and got licensed. And then I was like, well, shit, I might as well hire some of these guys, the best ones, have them come work for me directly. They'll rehab my houses for me and I can have them do these remodels as we're going. And then Armando Montialago and HGTV came out. And then the rehab market in my area got a little tighter for a little while. So I did a few less rehabs and I did a lot more remodeling for a while. But it's come back. The rehab game has come back. So anyway, that's awesome. Um, yeah, there's a good money to be made in the rehab business if you know what you're doing. So that's awesome. Do you do like full gut rehab or do you do more like the cosmetic, just, clean them up and put them back out on the market? Yeah, I mean, costs have gone through the roof, right? It's funny. We talking with another gentleman. I mean, just in the last 5 years, people cannot believe you do both. Okay. So it's funny. Over my career, the most amount of money I typically make is on a full gut rehab, like buying a house that maybe had a fire, or something that, just severely outdated, because those are the properties the average homeowner can't get a traditional mortgage for. And, by doing this a lot, there's just certain percentage of the population can only see a thing in its state as it is at the moment. If more homeowners had vision for something that they could envision what something could be, more of them would do it, but they can't. They can only see what's right in front of their face. So if you're the type of person that you have a vision, this business just works naturally for you. So, but yeah, the full gut rehabs tend to be the most profitable. I did have one townhouse once that we got at a really good deal. And I think it was just time the market right. We were lucky. We weren't good. We were just lucky. We made a pretty significant profit on that project. And all we did was paint the cabinets and redesigned like the finished basement, freshened up the place. But there's money to be made on both sides. It really depends on what the kind of property you're looking for in your area. How do you drive around neighborhoods? Do you send out postcards to find distressed properties? Are you working with a realtor? What's been your how are you getting your leads, for these houses that you're purchasing? For a while, of my friend and I, we had a real good connection with a bank, and he would get, they called it like the loan person at the bank would call him up directly, and his name was Steve, and he'd say, "Hey Steve, we're getting ready to foreclose on these 3 properties. Would you be interested in them?" So that was for a while there, that was a good source for us. Um, so what's working? How are you finding your leads? Mm. The I own a couple houses on one street too. It was funny when I first bought the first house. It was a 1920s style home, and I was like, "This is a nice neighborhood." And I started meeting the neighbors as I'm rehabbing the first house. And I noticed, man, a lot of these neighbors are old, and these houses are old. So I just introduced myself to all my neighbors and said, "I'd be interested in purchasing your house if you ever decide you want to sell." And within 5 years, I ended up buying like 2 more and was offered the chance to buy an additional 3, but I lost a couple of them. I just got outbid. Um, so that was a good way for me to, I don't know if you go around and introduce yourself to all the neighbors whenever you're rehabbing a house in the neighborhood you already, have a property in, but that worked pretty well. Yeah, it is. It was, okay. Yeah, so I've had different experiences. Sometimes they don't like to know that you're the investor, sometimes they do. I think it depends on the type of neighborhood you're in. Sometimes it's better to pretend like you're the poor rehab guy that does, "I don't know, I just wanna buy a house." Whereas if they think you're Mr. Moneybags, they'll, I don't know. There's all kinds of dynamics. You gotta learn to, read people a little bit, but you don't, I found I used to, I had a 90 this goes back. I had an old Toyota 4Runner at first, and I loved driving that thing, but I ended up just buying an old F-150, and I would drive that around all the neighborhoods for the longest time and introduce myself driving that. It seemed like if I showed up in the 4Runner, people thought, he's got, he make some money. But when I drive up in the older F-150, it was a different dynamic. Anyway, I don't know. That's just what it was like for me. But mm, but yeah, it's a good business. So congrats. That's awesome. Yeah. But well, right now, what I'm finding yeah, on the single family. Yeah. My girlfriend and I were looking for a house for a couple years. We wanted to move onto the water, and it was challenging. Um, she's the type that can't see a house past the state that it's in currently. So for her, we would come across a lot of really good deals, and she wouldn't be interested. And then it would be funny, 6 months later, that same house would come back up on the market, like double the price, and she'd be interested at that point. And I'd be like, "We could have been the ones that rehabbed it." Anyway, so fun stuff. But I'm seeing, even in my area, guys are making some pretty good money, rehabbing houses, and the quality of work ain't all that, you know, because I go in, I look at a lot of property that's for sale constantly. And I like to go back in after it's been rehabbed, and I like to see what the guys are putting into it, what's working. And I'm shocked at the quality, the lack of quality, I should say, then you can still sell a property. I over rehabbed quite a few properties in my days. Just made them too nice, too much attention to detail. Wasn't necessary. I was like, Mike, you really could have put up on the market a much lesser quality product, saved yourself months of work, money, and made the same profit, maybe even been more profitable. Just focus on the key areas: the front walkway, the kitchen, the bath, the master bedroom. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of depressing sometimes. I thought as time went on, you would see better rehabs, right? But I see that it's in the marketplace. You have so many people that it's kind of like a hack fest. It's crazy. You're like, really? How's that getting by these days? But people are limited. There's only so many houses to buy, and you know, the average homeowner just doesn't know the difference between a quality construction and below quality, so you can get away with it. But that's the Maryland market. I can't obviously I can't speak for all parts of the country. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see a similar thing. So, which is a good thing, right? Like if you want to make your property stand out just a little bit more, the bar's set so low, you barely have to do that much extra. One of the things that worked for us quite a bit still is we call it my I use a hard money lender a lot. All right. And he calls it, he goes, "What, Mike, where are you putting the sizzle on this house?" He always wants to know, where's the sizzle? Are we doing tray ceilings? I don't know, coffered this, or uh, where are we going to put that extra jazz to get people excited about the house? He's always asking me that. And we just joke. Okay. Yeah, well, good. I mean, if you don't have to, it keeps your money down. So I was heavily involved in real estate investing before the crash, and that changed things for me a lot. You do old When you say old school loans, how are you getting the loans? Like, who are you going through? You have family members, like other investors that aren't hard money? Like, what do you partners? What do you mean old school loans? Are you are the ha- how are you how are you or are you just taking out a mortgage? Like Oh, okay. Got you. Bank loans. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Hey, whatever works for you. We have a local bank in our area that I would do some work with them. They would be willing to invest in these rehab projects with us. Um, a lot of times, this one hard money gentleman that we've gotten to know really well over the years, he's sometimes just it was very simple for us to work with him. We built up a good relationship over the years. So at one point, we were using our own money, but things changed significantly in the market for me during the 2008 to 12 period. I got blindsided. I didn't see that coming. I owned way too many properties, and a lot financially shifted, and I stopped. I've never put myself out there like that again. The risk factor. So yeah, okay, yeah. So there's every market's a little bit different, and every hard money lender is going to be a little bit different. So in my area, there's a lot of them, and they all operate a little bit differently. The guy that I met, he had a pretty interesting story. He developed a barcoding system back in the 70s, and he sold it to the military, and just became an instant like multi-millionaire. And so when he sold his barcoding system business, he wanted to do something. He still liked to work. So at any given time, he has millions of dollars out on the street in rehab loans. That's all he does. Hard money lender. I mean, millions of dollars. He loves it. He drives all around town, drives a beat up minivan. You'd never know that the guy, meanwhile, he has hospital wings built after his, he donates the money in like the name of his mom or his whatever. And meanwhile, he pulls up in a minivan and you'd think the guy's like looking for a sandwich. Crazy. So, but where I go with it is he knows the business inside and out. And you meet with him, he'll tell you right up front, I'll give you this much to purchase, I'll give you this much for the rehab. This is the points that he wants, the interest that he wants, and then boom. Next thing you know, you can settle in a couple days because we have good relationships with his settlement attorney or title attorney rather. So it's a simple, streamlined process, very easy to work with. You give him a call. He's there the next morning to do your walkthrough, to give you the draw, gives you he'll write you a check or whatever, direct it. So there can be some advantages over time to building a relationship with a hard money lender that is speed. It's just, and personalized service, just like that. So might be something to consider. But if you have a good relationship and you're getting the loans the other way and it's working, you don't need to rock the boat either. So, and I mean, it also depends on how fast you're getting in and out of the properties. We try to be in and out like 3 months. Some take 6, if we have a permitting issue or whatever, but if you're in and out quick, the hard money loans, uh, they can be advantageous. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If you're in and out within 6 months, it's not so bad that interest payment that you're making to the hard money guy. So, just options over time. If you keep doing it, introduce yourself, get to know a couple. But yeah, very cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you commenting. And again, if you ever have any questions, I'm assuming you have agreements with your contractors, so you probably have all the paperwork you need. Are you a Facebook guy? Because if you get into so in my area, there's like a half a dozen Facebook groups all for local real estate investors, and there are a lot of these hard money guys are hanging out in those groups. All you have to do is post in there that you're you're a real estate investor and you're looking to make a new connection with a hard money guy. Sometimes they want to know your background. It may not hurt to let them know, hey, my last several deals, I've done traditional bank loan. I'm looking to make a relationship with a hard money lender in the area. And you'll be shocked at the amount of people that'll probably reply. So if you're not already in some of these Facebook groups for real estate investors in your local area, I would think where you're at, like in my area, there's probably, I don't know, 30 different real estate investment groups all on Facebook. And they all have different niches. Some are for people that are buying and holding to rent. Some are more rehab game, whatever. So, but yeah, that's a place I would consider looking first. And I think and then the other thing is look for, I don't know if you use realtors. How were you, how are you getting your leads? Did I ask you that? Yeah, I don't know how, if I saw you respond. How are you finding your deals right now? Are you just driving around neighborhoods? Do you do postcards? Do you buy lists of people that are having problems? Do you work with a realtor? Do you have a relationship with like a wholesaler? Okay. So if your realtor that you working with, you should talk to one or two. If they've been in the game for a little while, they should have a lead for you as far as a couple hard money guys to talk with as well. Because what ends up happening, all right, so if you're 2 hour, are you doing deals in Chicago too? Because yeah, you could crush it in that area. Um, but yeah, it's a small world. Once you start hammering down, you're gonna start recognizing like everybody kind of starts to know everybody over time. Okay, not in Chicago. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would see if you can get into a couple Facebook groups, and then um make connections with a couple a couple, find a couple realtor friendly real estate investors, and uh some of the realtors that are in the game, they also rehab and they help rehabbers or investors find property. So, just you'll want to look for meetup groups. Um, anyway, just do some old fashioned networking. That'll help you out a lot. It's crazy. You sometimes we think that these guys are all competition, and you're like you don't want to talk with them. But I go to these real investor groups sometimes, and you'll be shocked at the deals that come up because sometimes what one person sees as a problem is like right up your alley. And like one person's like, I don't want to rehab this house. It's like an hour away from me. And you're like, that's like 3 minutes from my house. I'd love to have that deal. So you see people always horse trading in a sense, and you just never know, right? Even though they're in the same industry, it's not necessarily your competition all the time. Sometimes they can be a good advocate, a good partner. I mean, I have bought deals from other investors for one reason or another. I have also bought deals and then decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. So I'll turn around. I'll land a deal because I'm in a neighborhood talking to a homeowner one day. I'll get the assignable contract. I'll wholesale that off to another person. I mean, it's crazy the opportunities that are out there. You just never know where a deal's going to be. Um, so anyway, all right. Well, very cool. Uh, Nah, not smart. Just you do this for a long time, you learn a lot of you just learn hard lessons. I've learned the hard way. That's what this comes down to. Yeah. So good. Yeah. No, no. You'll know all this stuff in no time yourself. Just, I bought my first property in 99, and then owned many more, significantly many more just a few years later. So, yeah, you're welcome. It's the the sky's the limit in that industry. Just it can be whatever you want it to be, man. It really can. So a buddy of mine was doing 300 houses a year. I didn't have that drive. That wasn't my style. I worked with him a lot. We did a lot of deals together, but he would do 300 projects a year. I mean, that's what it's crazy what is out there if you want it. You don't, but that wasn't I didn't go for that. I wanted a little, I like doing a few houses here and there and then taking a little vacation, coming back, doing a few more, taking another vacation. So anyway, yeah, it all works. You figure out what works for you. Exactly. But, you know, just don't be careful because a lot of people like to make it sound like it's the hardest industry in the world. And so many people don't know what they're doing and they make mistakes. But yeah, you can there you can have you can provide a nice little side income for yourself 100% doing this business. So anyway, thanks for being here. It was good chatting with you. I appreciate you commenting, and wish you the best. And if you ever need anything or hop on, you'll be surprised. I've got a few other guys that pop in here. They're also in the rehab game. Some of them are more contractor based, than they do the rehab as either their main business on the side. I've got a couple guys that are like, they buy the house, they buy lots, and then they'll build the house on top of it. So all speculation. You'll start meeting people from different parts of the country. and getting different ideas. So have a great night. Thanks for being here.